Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to look at The Builders Middle Ages. This is a game for 2 to 4 players for ages 10 and up, with the average playtime being about 30 minutes. This game reminds me a little bit of Splendor, in the sense that it's a card collecting game. What you're going to be doing in this game is drafting these workers to try and complete these buildings. And some of these buildings are actually machines that will allow you to use them and help you build some of the other buildings that you're trying to get. And the player that builds enough buildings will reach a certain victory point limit, and that'll end the game, and the player with the most points will end up winning. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and take a quick look at what came in the box and how the game is played. Alright, now here's a brief look at the components. You've got your worker cards here, building cards here, and your money down here. As far as the money goes, the silver coin are worth 1, whereas the gold coin are worth 5. Okay, so what you're looking at here is an example of a building card, and every card has 2 sides. You've got the unconstructed side and the constructed side. On the unconstructed side, you'll see on the right-hand side the resources that are required in order to complete this structure. You've got stone, wood, knowledge, and tile. In this case, this building needs 1 wood and 1 knowledge. This is what the player will receive, 8 coin and 0 victory points, for completing this particular building. Now, this is an example of a machine building, and basically this machine will assist players in building some of these other cards. These machine cards work very similar to the other building I just showed you. They cost different things to build, as you can see. But on the reverse side, you'll actually see something on the left-hand side here. This tells the player that they earn 3 tile for completing this particular structure or building. And players can then assign this building to another unconstructed building to satisfy some of the resources required in order to build it. It'll make more sense once I show you what I mean, but just keep in the back of your mind that these building cards have an unfinished side and a finished side, and you can see the resources that are needed on the right and what is rewarded to the player in the top left-hand corner. This is an example of a worker card, and while they are two-sided, they have the same information on both sides. And on the left-hand side, you can see what they contribute to a building that they are assigned to. In this case, this craftsman will contribute 2 knowledge and 2 tile to whatever building it's assigned to. And you can see the cost of assigning that worker to a structure in the upper right-hand corner here. Okay, as far as game setup is concerned, you'll take the building cards, shuffle them up, and deal 5 like so, unconstructed side up. As far as the worker cards are concerned, you'll want to take out all of the apprentice cards, shuffle them up, and deal 1 to each player at random. Then you put any leftovers that you have back into the deck, shuffle them up, and then deal 5, same with the building cards up here. After that, players will receive 10 coin, and finally, 1 player will receive the first player card. On a player's turn, they have 3 action points that they can use to perform various tasks. Those tasks are starting construction, recruiting a worker, sending a worker to work, and taking coins. Now, with that being said, a player can spend 5 coins to buy an additional action point. The first task, or the start construction task, simply involves the player looking at the available building cards, choosing one, and putting it in front of them. You'll then replenish this little pool here with a new card from the deck. This task costs 1 action point. The next task, or the recruit a worker task, simply involves you looking at the worker cards, choosing one, and putting it in front of you. So let's say that this player sees that he needs wood, so he's going to go ahead and choose this laborer over here. And again, you'll draw from this deck to replenish the pool. This particular task costs 1 action point. Next, we have the send a worker to work task. And basically, you can use any of the workers in your pool to assign them to an unconstructed building. Now, you can assign 1 worker to a structure for 1 action point. And to do that, you just take a look at maybe your cards here, see what resources you need, and put it right next to it like that. Now again, that costs 1 action point, and you'll have to pay the cost in the upper right-hand corner of the card. In this case, this worker requires 3 coins, so this player has to pay 3 coins to the bank. Now, if the player wants to assign additional workers to the same building on the same turn, you'll have to give up even more action points. It'll cost 2 points to add a second card to the same building on the same turn. If you had a third worker, you'd have to pay an additional 3 actions or action points to assign a third worker to the same building on the same turn, and so on and so forth. So just to quickly sum that up, the more workers you assign to the same building on the same turn, the more expensive it gets in terms of action points. If you have another building in front of you, just as an example, this would cost 1 action, and you could assign another worker to a different building. This would still only cost 1 action point. It's only when you assign them to the same building is when they start getting more and more expensive. Last but not least, we have the Take Coins task, and basically all that involves, you can spend 1 action to take 1 coin from the bank, you could spend 2 action points to take 3 coins from the bank, or you can spend 3 action points to take 6 coin from the bank. Okay, now let me quickly touch on finishing a building. All this really involves is taking a look at your building and making sure that all of the resources are satisfied. Let's just say, for the sake of argument and for example purposes, that these 2 cards were here. There is 1 stone, and this building needs 1 stone. This needs 1 wood, and this other worker down here provides 1 wood. So this survey tools building would be complete. Whenever you complete a building, you just simply flip it to the constructed side and put it into your score pile. The exception to that rule is if it is a machine. This particular building is a machine. The machine can be placed in front of you to be used on a future turn. Now, any workers you had on that building that you were constructing that is now finished get returned to you. They don't get discarded or anything like that, so you get to keep them. This is the only way that you can get workers back. Once you assign a worker to a building that is unfinished, it stays there until the building is done. Now, again, this is a machine down here. Now, let's just say, for the sake of argument, again, this is example purposes, but let's say that we'll use this pigstry here. Let's say that this player had this pigstry card and was trying to construct it. Now, again, normally you would assign workers to work on a particular building. That's one of your actions that you can take, or tasks. But instead of assigning a worker, you can assign a machine to do that. You just put it right next to it like so. Now, the nice thing about machines is that they don't cost anything to assign to a building, whereas workers require a certain monetary value. And again, the monetary value is in the upper right-hand corner of the card. So basically, if you buy machines, you can use them on a future turn to assign to an unfinished building. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Players will be drafting these workers and then assigning those workers to various buildings to earn money, victory points, and in some cases, resources to help them build even more buildings. And the first player to reach 17 victory points, and again, you can see how many victory points you have via this crown here. The first player to do that will signal the game's ending round, so to speak. Each player will make sure that they've taken an equal number of turns. That's what this first player card is for. But after each player has had an equal number of turns, the player with the most victory points will win the game.
Alright, there you have it, a very brief look at the Builders Middle Ages. It's important to note that I didn't cover all of the rules found in the manual, but hopefully this will give you a nice general overview as far as how the game is played. First impressions, pretty positive. It's a very light game. I love light games. I just don't have a lot of time anymore for games like Power Grid or Stone Age, or games that take more than 60 or 90 minutes to play. Yeah, it's a very light game, and again, it reminds me of Splendor in the sense that you can use cards that you have built or have put in front of you to help you build other cards. So it's sort of like a card collection kind of game. And the coins and the cards themselves are pretty well themed. Very easy to read, and I love the artwork. So yeah, this is definitely recommend, especially since the price is just right, about 10 to 15 bucks, at least on Amazon. So with that being said, if you want to see the full review, you can, www.dadsgamingaddiction.com. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. This is Vince, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.